Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dynamic Character Productions, and we are here with our third place finisher, Sarah. So excited to have you.
Happy to be here.
And as always, Lily and Alex are here with me, breaking everything down.
Yeah.
I'm so ready for this one because this is one I've been anticipating because like we found Greg, our production member, found Sarah off of a random
A
Insta
1-year-old
reel.
Instagram reel or something.
Yeah, I posted that a while ago.
And it's just crazy how we go from that to you being like, okay, let me try this thing, and you come in, and not only do you try it, you get to the final tribal council. Like you got to have a full, like almost a completely full game experience. You actually had more of an experience than anyone else on the cats because you also got exile.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely did not expect it. Like I remember telling people that morning, being like, "Oh, I really hope I didn't cancel all my plans to get voted out early." Like I was like, I'll probably go early and then have like nothing to do all day.
Before we really get into it, I just want to say, going into this game, I was the most nervous for you because you were someone that was very fish out of water, and I really was hoping for you to embrace it, which you did, and then you learned the game and started knowing how to maneuver within the game, and then getting to final tribal on your first go at this. I just made me so happy. So I'm glad that you hit the ground running and went with the craziness that is DCP.
I definitely did not know what to expect. I don't know if I hit the ground running necessarily, but
all right,
I figured it out.
Brisk walk.
Yeah, I definitely did not do it quietly.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start off. This was your first org. What most surprised you, I guess, about the experience?
Oh my gosh, a lot of things. One, that people played so many. Like I just didn't realize that there were people who had done just that was their not their life, but it felt like that was such a core part of their identity where it was these orgs. Like I just had no idea that people had been hosting, playing, and knew each other from different things. Like I, for some reason, went into it thinking that they were all like me or Austin or Lowe or similar. Like it didn't even occur to me until halfway through that people were very serious about it. Like I was serious about playing and I wanted to go far. But yeah, I just was so surprised that people had been and that they played in real life and you guys, you played in real life, McKenna. Like I just didn't know that was even further part of the world.
Yes. And neither did I until semi recently, at least with the live game portion of it. But yeah, it's a crazy world.
Afterwards, when everyone's like, oh yeah, when Jon was he had played so many, I had no idea. It just didn't even occur to me that people had been in more than 2 or 3.
Do you think it made it easier playing, thinking that most people this might be their first or second, but not their 20th?
No, I think it was a really big disadvantage for me. Yeah. I think that it didn't even occur to me that people were playing for entertainment value. Some people were playing for chaos, are playing to do the craziest thing they could possibly do. My mind was strictly just get to the end with any means, and if that was do nothing. So I didn't realize that would affect how other people were playing. Almost people were playing as if how will this be fun for me, whereas I was playing how can I get to the end, which I think that when you play a lot of them, you're I just want to be kooky and wild, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. I just had my only goal was to not be voted out in general. So I feel
it was
yeah, exactly. I'm well, I guess I succeeded. So part of me feels it was a disadvantage because I didn't realize that people would play in different ways, to not make it to the end, but to be as wild as they wanted, or do crazy things.
Well, I think what also helped with your game, and because it's your first time playing, you don't have that bubble of oh, I played these games, let me come in, be a character, let's have fun. You came in, you were authentic. You were very and I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, oh, why is that a compliment? But it's you'll see in like other orgs that like there's a lot of like inauthenticity where so like when people find someone who's like you can just read as like, okay, I can take Sarah for her word, like what she's saying I can take at face value. That becomes like so reliable, especially in a mini where it's like in a mini that's so wild and crazy, you don't know who's telling the truth. It's like if you can find someone who like if she says like, okay, this is where I'm voting, and you don't have to worry about that, that becomes like so like it becomes such a valuable tool to have. And it's something that's a lot easier to get away with when you're a new player. So like I think you were able to use like just being yourself as an advantage to like get people to just think like, oh, Sarah's cool. She's like this cool person. She tells us what she has. She tells us like she makes good jokes. We all
forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I like was shocked at how little I lied. Like honestly, I was like going into it, I was like, well, I don't really mind lying that much. I feel like I tell white lies, like, you know, if I don't like someone's cooking, I'll tell them. I'll lie. I'll be like, oh, I loved it. Because, you know, so like I'm kind of not comfortable lying, but I was more uncomfortable with lying to strangers on the internet than I thought I was going to be. In a game that you should be lying in. Like, so I feel like that was almost a disadvantage. But I just didn't really want to lie to people. I liked everybody.
And coming from an edit perspective also, I loved seeing just your raw thoughts on the game, and you weren't like going at it from a Lex of like, honey, like let me tell you this story that just went down. You're like, I have no clue what to do. Like you were always just like, this is my thoughts on what I have with this information that I have. I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm going this way, hell or high water. Like I just love that you always put all of your thoughts just on the screen, and it was great.
Kind of made me look like an airhead a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, I feel like that's like when I keep saying I don't know what I'm doing, people are like, yeah, we can tell.
But it also depends on when you get pulled in the round. If you get pulled first, obviously you don't know what you're doing yet. And then like backing it up with like a round that you might be, I genuinely don't know what I'm doing. It kind of like could paint a weird image.
And it was like so funny because like you would come in and be like, you're in confession, like, I just really wanted to do the flip cup because I just wanted to show how much of a badass I am at flipping cups.
I'm so good at flip cup. You have no idea.
All right, at the reunion, we're gonna make Sarah flip.
No, I don't want to do it now because it's too much talk. But like in college, we would play Flip Cup Survivor where you would have to vote somebody off.
Yeah. And
I was so good. It was like a thing with all my friends. So I was like, finally, something I know I can do. Like I probably too confident. It's been many years since I've played Flip Cup Survivor. So, but during COVID, we would play it with water to hydrate, and we were bored. So, yeah, I guess there was no question, but I definitely didn't lie a lot, and I definitely didn't. I did know what I wanted to do sometimes, but I was always like, well, I don't really want to push that agenda because I didn't want to. I was really bad at saying people's names, but like I would say a name and it just like wouldn't get traction. So I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I don't really want to push it because I don't want to get back to them that I'm pushing that.
Yeah,
but I was the only one who said Vee's name like the entire time.
Yeah, you're the only person who really said Vee's name, and I believe Lowe's name. Yes. And like it just never like it'd be like everyone would be like, oh yeah.
So what?
Okay, but anyway,
she's great. We love her.
She's amazing. I know, and I was like, well, I do too. Like she still seems really good, and I feel like she would be. I was always like, she seems like an easy one that like would be easy. So let's just go for low. Like she seems sneaky and good.
Nobody wanted to.
Yeah, and they were all just like, she is sneaky and good.
But we're gonna go for Lydia.
Yeah, it's that whole like confessional from Pearl Island. So Dara like talking about Johnny Fairplay. It's like Johnny Fairplay lies to everybody, but I think he's telling me the truth.
Yeah.
It's like that was like the case with so many people that you were like looking at. You're like, I don't know about them, but everyone would be like, I don't know either, but I like them.
Yeah, like we all like everybody. That was like the hardest part. Is like I feel like I said that too much because it's like we get it. We all like each other. We don't have to keep prefacing with this. But I don't like saying mean things about. I don't like saying anything mean. So I really struggle with that. So that was hard for me. So like I'd be like, what about Vee? I love her. She's really nice. But like, and then so I think it just never took anywhere. I don't know. But she won, so I guess I was kind of right.
Yeah. People just should have listened.
Yeah.
Do you think that the format of, being in Zoom, it's all in one day, made it harder to throw out names? Like maybe if it was a longer type of situation, you might feel more comfortable with these people to be able to throw out a name and not risk your game at the same time.
I don't think, I've never played a long version game. I don't think that was it. I think the not throwing out the name thing was more of like a me problem versus the format problem. I think that was just something that I had to like get over, and I unfortunately didn't do it fast enough. So I think that like other people threw out names and it didn't really hurt their game because we're all here to play the same game, and I should have just kind of like sucked it up and done it earlier. I think the format, especially with the breakout rooms and people actually going into breakout rooms and like discussing it, was like a good place to do that at. Like there were many situations where I probably could have said a name and like pushed harder and it would have gone farther, but I just like didn't have like the gumption behind what I said with the names because I was like too nervous.
I think that's another aspect of like your first game. I remember my first game, I was nervous not only of, what is everybody else doing? I feel like when you're new, you're like, am I doing what everybody else is doing? And second, especially with episodes, I remember thinking like, okay, I need to filter myself for this. But what I really enjoyed with you is like that didn't happen. Kind of like what Alex said, like there was no filtering or, like you didn't seem too worried about what is everybody else doing. You were like, I'm just going to do what makes sense for me. And I think you don't see that a lot of times. And it made it really great as a viewer to watch because it's like I remember feeling like that and she's pulling it off so well. So
thank you. I wasn't intentional.
Hey, sometimes the best parts of someone's games are the things that aren't intentional. It's just like instinctual of like who you are. So it's like it just comes out and everyone's like, oh, I like that though. I like that about you.
I definitely feel like there were times like watching it back, especially seeing people be like, we're the final four, we're the final two. Like it didn't occur to me that I had to have those specific conversations with people. And I like assumed that Jon and Austin and I were final three, even though it was never said. And that's really like my fault thing again.
Definitely felt, I believe, at least on Austin's end, you
and
were
somewhat on
guy.
and somewhat on Jon's end. Like Jon had the idea of Emily, but he also had the idea of you and Austin, like, and him being a three going to the end.
I mean, Emily and Jon are like a dream team. Like in another game that's not involved with me, I would love to see them go together. Like I would love for that to happen, just not with me as like collateral. But like I remember Jon in his final tribal said like, oh, I never agreed to have an alliance with anybody. And I was like, I thought we were an alliance. And like I've been married for a decade and I haven't had to have a conversation with a man about what we were in so long. It just is. I just assumed we were in an alliance. Like I shame on me for assuming, but I was like, Jon,
you know what happens when you assume.
Exactly. But he said that and I was like, we weren't, and we never had that alliance conversation. So I was over here being like, Jon and I we're an alliance, and Jon is not loyal to anybody really. Which is fine. He was great, but it was just funny. I was like, Jon, I've never had to have this conversation. It's been too long.
Well, speaking of Jon, a big part of the post-merge game was the discussion of duos. And you hear that Jon and Austin are being thrown in as a duo. What is your reaction to this? And does this make you wary of continuing to work with them as
no, I'm an idiot. It makes me sad. I was like
no,
over here
I
being
think
a
that makes you
Pisces.
smart because
I was sad though. I was like, whoa.
The target. I know. I'm gonna walk right here. There's the target.
Yeah, everyone else is telling me that's what I should have thought, but I was over here like, oh, I thought I was part of that, and like they're like, you are, and I'm like, well, okay. I was like in my feelings about it.
To be a part of it.
I don't know. I feel like I think it made me realize that I just was like not doing anything enough to be on anyone's radar. It was like really, I was like, oh shit, like that's like what it was. I was like I'm so. It's not that I'm being sneaky, it's that I'm doing so like little to be obvious to them that they're like, no, she's just there.
It's just so funny that was the duo that was highlighted from your tribe, because it's like, oh, Austin and Jon are the duo. cut to all the scenes where there's a breakout room of just Sarah and Austin talking forever.
Well, okay, one, Austin has like kind of a slower cadence than I do. And I tend to cut people off. And I was like, I'm not going to be rude to people and cut people off because that really annoys people. So I was trying really hard to not cut him off. Because I didn't want to be rude. I wanted him to think I was like rude and like be annoyed at me and be like, God damn, Sarah cuts me off all the time. Which I do
don't think he would ever think that.
But I was sitting there being like, Austin, we gotta go. Like, like, what are you trying to tell me? I want to work. Like, and I didn't want to cut him off because he was really smart and he had like a really good pulse on things. So I was like trying to let him finish, but he talked like a little slow, and I talk a little fast. So
I was surprised when Alex gave me the cuts for that episode, and I was like, I have 3 separate like decent chunks of just Sarah and Austin in this.
We were waiting for people to come in to talk to him because like. Lex did come in eventually, I think, or Jon, somebody does come in, and we were like, oh, we were waiting for you. Yeah, no, I don't know. I just loved hanging out with Austin. I would have known that I'd be like really just vibing with a young 20-year-old single straight man from Wisconsin. Here we are. Austin is my ride or die.
You know, I mean, maybe you shouldn't have defined the relationship with Jon. It's Austin that you.
Well, but we were on the same page. I didn't have to. Austin's a great guy. Oh my gosh, he's wonderful. Jon, you have to look out for. Jon's a cat.
Well, another relationship we see kind of build after the merge is you and Lydia. You know, I don't know that you ever really worked directly together right at the beginning, but we see you have these nice connections throughout. And so did that kind of influence you going for Vee versus everybody else in the game kind of going after Lydia?
Not my connection with her. I just, in my mind, it made the most obvious choice to go after Vee because that's like her right-hand person. And like, we're talking about duos and we can't get one. Why not just get the other? Like, I was like, that to me felt really obvious. Like when they wanted to go after Jon, they got Austin. So when you want to go after Lydia, why not just take out Vee? So to me, it just was like, Lydia keeps having idols. Why don't we just go after the other one? Like I don't know. To me, it felt like a really obvious thing to do, but no one ever really, again, no one caught on, and I should have pushed it harder. But then I guess at the end, I would have just been sitting with Lydia and Jon, or Lydia and Emily, or Jon. So like, it never looked good for me at that point. Yeah. I was like, well, whatever. But yeah, I don't think it was because I liked Lydia any more than I liked anybody else. Although I loved Lydia. I loved everybody though at that point, especially at that point. I was like, I like wanted them all to win.
And at least 10 hours with them.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I definitely, but no, I just thought that it was Vee looked like the obvious choice in my mind, in my like I didn't explain it very well when I was like trying to push it, but I was like, well, we can't get her. Let's get her other person.
Well, and speaking of Lydia and her idols, before we get to your nullifier, I do want to touch on your time in exile during the tribe swap. You know, you picked the lucky square where you get sent to exile. Were you more nervous or excited to be on that journey by yourself?
I was kind of excited. I was really happy to not be involved in a challenge where I could let people down. So if I messed up on exile, I was just letting myself down kind of. So I was like, well, I guess maybe production because they wouldn't get to use that puzzle correctly. But in general, it was kind of nice to like have like almost like a breather for a minute.
Did you
again, I do breathe.
No, did you really breathe during exile? Because I just remember footage of you stressed.
I mean, I was stressed, but like I kind of like live at an anxiety level in general. So like that's like a natural state for me is I outwardly think like the rambling I do is something I just do in general. Like I ramble to myself consistently. I work at home alone. So like I'm rambling all damn day. You just happen to have it on tape. So I'm sitting there doing it and it's annoying. And I'm like,
honestly,
I'm like, wow.
It helps the edit. I'm just going to say that like you talking to yourself gives us
it's a lot more better than seeing someone going.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I already have like, that's like what I was worried about. I was like, oh, I don't want to like, and I just was like, and I felt bad because I was like, you guys wanted some exciting exile, and I'm over here just like really not understanding this puzzle. Like they explained it to me so many times. And actually, I've downloaded an app and I practice that puzzle every damn day now because it was so annoying to me that I didn't understand it. I was like, and I actually took it because you kept up the Excel sheet and I have it. And I showed it to my husband. I was like, you do this. Like, so I made my husband try it and he couldn't figure it out at first either. So I felt like a little bit better, but, no, the puzzle was very stressful. I was mostly just worried about being embarrassed, like being stupid on the internet.
No, we like purposely wanted to have like a hard puzzle there. And I'll be honest, this was the moment like where McKenna was like, oh, I was nervous about Sarah for like playing the game and navigating the game. I was nervous about you having the puzzle because I remember you saying like in an earlier round about you not being good at puzzles or something. So I was like, well, the Idle Nullifier was my pitch for this season. I specifically wanted that in.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's still funny how
we still got to have the whole spiel that it was found and everything, so we're good.
Yeah, but it was like so funny because it's just like I go, well, I'm in the prod chat going, well, there goes the Idle Nullifier. We're not gonna get this. And then like we're in the middle of the challenge, and suddenly I just get pings on my phone going like, Sarah's close. Sarah's gonna get this.
Oh wait, no, she deleted everything. Never mind. Oh wait, she got it back.
I was like going through the feels that everyone was going through when Emily was doing the unscramble in the first round. It was like the text version of facial reactions of just like, oh, she's almost there. She deleted it, but she's close. She figured it out.
Honest, the edit was quite generous to that. You did not show me not figuring out. Oh my gosh. At one point, I don't know who I was talking to, but I said, man, you guys did not see me struggle with that puzzle. And somebody responded and they go, oh no, we heard about it. And I was like, oh fuck. That was terrible. And I picked my favorite color on the stupid picture. I was like, well, I like pink, so I'm going to pick that pink flower.
So the behind the scenes of picking what images and what was under each image, I go to prod member Carrie and I'm like, all right, what do you want this one to be? And she was like, I like pink, so it's gonna be the exile one.
Well,
so
okay, well, I guess great minds think alike.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was fun though. In hindsight, the puzzle's really cool and I'm really glad I did it. And I was like very proud of myself for finishing it. So in hindsight, I really liked it.
Yeah.
And then obviously I wasn't worried again when I got into the same tribe with Jon and Austin. So like, I do feel like Exile in hindsight again was a breath of fresh air for me for those few minutes. Like not having to worry about being on that tribe and messing up a challenge in front of people and like being the obvious vote out was much nicer.
But like we also then see like you getting that, I don't know if and also like giving trust to Jon and Austin is like a big factor to what honestly like gets Jon hooked with you for the rest of the game. Because like you see him in his confessional going like, I want Sarah to tell me what she did there. If she doesn't tell me, then why should I be loyal to her? I would be willing to let her go instead of Lee. Right. And so like you tell him, you're just very like, hey, I just happened to find this Idle Nullifier. I did this hard puzzle. And he's like, okay, I'm good now. Sarah's my ally.
I feel like I had way too much faith in that original tribe. Like it didn't even occur to me not to work with them. Mm-hmm. So, and then Lex, I told Lex the minute I saw him the next time. What in hindsight, I was like, oh my gosh, I should not have told him anything. But I don't think he told anybody that I had it. So I think that worked out.
No, he did not. To my knowledge, he didn't mention it. But again, it's because like all of you kept forgetting that it existed.
I didn't forget it. I just like didn't think I wanted to save it, and I thought I had one more. I think you had to tell me. You were like, you can't use it.
Yeah.
And I thought I had one more time, so I had planned on using it the last time. So that was my fault for not.
Yeah, that was when you I think like iconically said, okay, I think I'm mad at you guys again.
You're like, you should be mad at yourself because you didn't listen to the rules. Yeah. That was definitely a my fault thing, but I definitely my biggest regret is not using it to save Austin.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's
plan
truly...
for Lydia should always, at least after that first idle play, should always come with your backup of insurance there.
I know, and I would like straight up ask her and be like, "Oh, do you have an idol?" And she's like, "No," and I'm like, "Why did I believe you?" Twice. I believe her.
Was there also like just a point of like, because the whole thing with both those Lydia votes is it comes very much at the end of the scramble. So is it because of like the timing of Lydia's name going out that like it almost is like you're in this rush? You're like, oh, 2 minutes before tribal, okay, it's Lydia, and then you go into tribal, you don't even have like a true chance to think, oh, I should play this just in case. Sort of like how during the Lee round you were like contemplating, do I do it just in case? But ultimately you correctly hold it there.
Yeah.
But like, do you think like that had any factor in you ultimately not using it in that round?
Oof, I wish I could say yes. I wish that there was that much like that good a thought. To me, it was I truly did not understand how to even get an idol, so I couldn't imagine that somebody figured it out that many times. Was what it was. I was like, there's no way that she found a different one. So in my head, it was just like, there's absolutely no way. There's just no way. So then the second time, like, you know, I was just like, absolutely, there's just no way.
Mm-hmm.
I just could not imagine that she had found another one.
Let alone a third.
Yes. Which the third one, I didn't think she was even up for the vote on that one when she used it, right? So like,
no, that was the quick round.
Well,
so she gets it at 7. She gets it at 7, but she wasn't up for the vote there, because that's where low goes. Yeah. And then we had the quick round where, because half of you don't speak, you're one of the 3 people who even say anything during that round. Lydia just plays it just because I don't know where anyone's voting. Like I have to play it.
I definitely thought about using it probably more often than I said out loud, but I wanted to save it. Like I always see people use things like wrong or waste it. And I didn't want to do that, which I guess I did end up wasting it because I didn't use it. But I just was like, oh, I really wanted to have like a punch.
No one would have ever known if you had played it.
Yeah.
Because it would have.
Well, it would only have come up
if it had worked.
If
it had negated any votes.
And well, the next time that I have an idol nullifier in a game,
just play
I'll know to use it. I'll know. I'll just get it away from me.
I have a question for you. As a new player, what did it feel like the first time you saw your name written down on Parchment as a vote to go home? Because for me, it was like, oh, what?
I think I was confused because I think it wasn't when Emily just did the card thing. Yeah, I was like really just confused. Like to me, I felt like somebody just like wasn't paying attention. Okay. Like I was like, somebody's obviously just like not paying attention, and like they just threw their vote away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what's cool about your like for you for this season is you're tied for the least amount of votes cast against, but you're tied with Vee and Jonathan. And honestly, Jonathan gets the 2 votes from being idled out. Yeah. Vee gets the vote from Low and the vote from Austin. But I would say only one of those votes truly meant something because Austin thought Vee was the plan. But for yours, what's very fascinating is you actually had a case of getting to the end with 0 votes. Like you get 1 vote from a card, and you get 1 vote because half of you didn't speak, and Jon goes, I'm just gonna throw a vote somewhere just in case. Like if the main plan and the backup plan and like the backup plan don't happen, then there's a stray vote somewhere. So it's like I think like very much like you say at the end of the game, what I brought was like my social game, and I think that was like one of your like best things to highlight was I was playing a social game. People liked me. Like people like I was able to navigate rooms. People didn't want to vote you out. Mm-hmm. Like I think it was very cool to see, like looking back through like my like the spreadsheet that Kyle, our production member, worked on during the game, and seeing like, oh yeah, Sarah, like you very easily could have been like a 0 vote person going into the final tribal.
Damn those cards. I think about that kind of stuff consistently. Like I do think if I had used that stupid idol nullifier, I could have had at least more votes at the end. I mean, I can get wrapped up in coulda, woulda, shouldas like all day long. But I do feel like I didn't rub anyone the wrong way. I was almost always on the right side of the vote, I think. And I think the only times I was when Lydia used an idol. So like, I do feel like
asterisks, you were on the wrong side because
So I do like, I feel like sometimes I feel like I played a very like not a good game, but other times I'm like, well, I didn't really do that bad. Like, I mean, it's like low key, but yeah, I just think like not even being somebody, no one talked about it. Like no one talked about voting for Vee necessarily either. So I think that's why she did so well. She was just like a little less subtle about it than I was.
That's another thing I want to talk to you about.
Well, yeah. So, but like right before you do that, I can confirm. Like you voted 9 times. You correctly voted 8 of the 9 people out. The only time you didn't was the Andrew vote. But even then, you were in the majority vote to send out Lydia. So you were right. You always knew who the main target was going to be every single round and voted correctly in that stance.
So toward the end game, a lot of your confessionals are just, man, I'm a goat.
I knew it.
Anything. And I'm like, Sarah, gosh darn it. Like, I just like,
I mean, you know, I knew.
I know, but like, I hated having to put them in because I hated you feeling that way about yourself and about your game, because it was either don't put you in the episode or
I know. Well, I mean,
about being like, man, this sucks.
I was hopeful of seeing this, like you're talking like I'm a goat, but then like you go into Final Trial, be like everyone follows a goat, but I'm actually the goat.
I should have said that.
You should all be voting for me.
I think I was just tired at that point.
Yeah.
I just I was still having a lot of fun being the goat. Like I had a lot of fun the entire day. Like there was just like a moment, and I think you can kind of tell when I realized I was like, oh man, I'm probably going to get to the end. I'm probably going to make it, and I'm going to have to like talk to people about what I had to do to get here, and I'm not going to have a lot to say. And that's like just exhausting feeling. Like that's all it was. Like I was still having fun while doing that. Like all of the challenges were super fun. Even like when I seemed frustrated in the breakout room one, I loved that challenge. I had a lot, like it was so cool. Like I really enjoyed all of those little activities and stuff. So I don't know. I think it's fine to be the go. In my head, I was thinking of it like if you're on the show, like making it to 3rd place, you still get a lot of money. So like I wasn't playing to impress the people I was playing with or to like be crazy. I was playing to get to the end. Like, and that's like just how I thought of it. So it's like
all of the $0 in this game.
Yeah, right.
Yes, Luke has said
exactly. I was playing for money in my head. I was playing for like, I'm a really competitive person. Which is why I was so annoyed that I wasn't doing well at the challenges. Like that's like, oh, I'm not really doing very well. And I thought I would do better. So that's like, but again, I was having fun being the goat.
Have you watched back Final Tribal, and do you have any like biggest regrets about maybe your performance or ways that you answered questions that directed at you from the jury?
Not really. I feel like the questions were quite difficult because I didn't do a lot, and I acknowledge that. No, I feel like the questions were not difficult actually. Everyone's really mostly very nice. It was good. I feel like I'm not the greatest speaker, to be honest. So like listening to Vee talk, I was like, holy shit, that girl, like I want to get on the jury and vote for her. Like she was so good. So I just was like, let me just answer these questions to like in the most positive way that I can. And yeah. So not really any changes. You have any notes that I could have done better?
Well,
I don't have any.
Well, I think one thing that you did is like something that like Lilly has experience with this from being in a Final Tribal herself, was like there's certain people on a jury that like they'll react positively in a certain way to like sometimes for you responding in a way that may not seem like this is how I should answer a question. It's like our production member Jon was a member of the jury for Lilly's, and like Lilly didn't know that like all she had to do was pretty much tell Jon off for the question that he asked, and he probably would have voted for her. And it's like that's sort of like a part of what helps you get Lex's vote. Is like when you stand in your ground to Emily's questions, and you're like, no, I own and respect the game that I played, and I played the loyal game that you wanted to play. I did it. And like Lex goes like, you see Lex in the background just going like snapping, going like I figure like he's having like you go girl, like
yeah, that was watching everyone's reactions. That was really nice. Like I saw Ben's face was pretty shocked too. But I think
it's like one of the most memorable moments is you clapping back at Final Tribal. I was just like, She was a bit snarky. You go, girl. You stand your ground. She did not direct a question at you at all. And you were just like, no, I am not letting this go. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I think I was kind of like in my opening statement, I was like, people have been really nice. And then all of a sudden she was not nice. And I was like, oh, wow, you really, because it wasn't that she didn't direct a question. I was kind of like taken aback by how rude she didn't direct a question. Like she could have said no question. But she decided to not say that. And I just, so I didn't regret, you asked, do I regret anything? I was like, that was probably the moment where I was like, you know, I've been nice this entire time, and no, you can't say that to me.
Perfect. We love that.
Good. I think a lot of times also watching a lot of these back is it's hard with the jury. People often have like cheerleaders, quote unquote. And I think Jon had one in Emily, not that she really performed it at Final Tribal, and Vee had one in Lydia, right? And you didn't really have a quote unquote cheerleader in Ponderosa saying all of the things you did, because I think you did make very good moves and good steps, but if the people on the jury aren't talking about it while they're not in the game, it's even more less visible. So I think that's also interesting. You know, we see Emily tell Jon, well, we don't know your social game, kind of seems like a layup. So he can go, well, this is everything I did. And you didn't have a jury member give you a layup to then slam dunk, you know, and say like, well, yeah, I did all of this stuff, because they knew that you had an answer. So I think your performance was really well given the jury's perception of your game. And I think you did make a lot of good moves, whether you see them or not. I want you to see them, but it's hard in that moment. You don't have a lot of time to prepare. I feel like everybody walks away from Final Tribal thinking like, what else could I have said? So I just always like to ask to give people an opportunity to.
I mean, yeah, ultimately I'm just like, half of the game is outlasting. So I'm just proud that I did that. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, I also think what gives you more like credit to the game that you played is we've seen in Real Survivor at this point a lot of Final Threes, and a majority of that time, the third place person does not receive a vote. The fact that you were able to do whatever in that Final Tribal to gain some, because you gained a vote, you earned that vote from someone. It was like should be like commendable, because a lot of times, like one thing that I'm always nervous about in a Final Three setting for games that we run is I hate the feeling of someone like getting to the end and not receiving a vote for their game, because like you're there for a reason, whether whether people believe they're a goat or not a goat. Like you played a game that got you to the end, outlasting, and it's like I'm hopeful that they're able to make enough of the case where at least one person gives a vote to each of these three people. So like to see you earn a vote at Final Tribal, McKenna and I were texting each other just like, we are so happy that we get to see everybody, like we get to show everyone's name at the end.
And even in the moment after Lex had left and casted his vote, I was so like overjoyed, because everyone deserved a vote, and because you all did well at your final tribal council. Like Final Tribal Council is rough, and you all you all handled it and mustered through it, and the game, you know, you everyone did a lot, and the fact that everyone got a vote was just like one of my favorite parts of the season, because everyone deserved it.
Yeah, it definitely felt nice. I love Lex. So I was really glad that it was from him too. Especially because he didn't vote for Jon, and Jon clocked us at the very beginning of being a Seattle like alliance. So I was like, yeah, Seattle came through for me. Like sorry, Jon. I know. And like when I think about Jon's social game, like for a long time I was like, I didn't occur to me that he was working with other people so much. I was like, we kind of had a similar game, and then I was like watching it back and I was like, we did not have a similar game. Like Jon was doing the most. Like Jon was like working really hard.
He never had alliances, he just had deals.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jon's going around like as like a businessman, like I won't put your name down for 2 votes if you also don't put my name down for 2 votes. And you're here like, I think we're voting Lydia this time. Yeah.
I
We're
think
gonna
I
do
just say
that.
I think too much because I always knew what I was doing. I always was like, I'm going to do that. But like when I was there, but you never know if other people are talking about other things. Like I was
Right.
always like, I don't know if like they're just telling me a fake name, but like at one point I just kind of realized I was like, I'm obviously not going to be the vote anytime soon. The only way, especially the end, like the last episode, I was like, well, there's no way they're going to vote me out, but I have to kind of like pretend to be nervous because like it'd look really stupid if I wasn't nervous and then I got voted out. Like that'd be even worse. But like I was like, they would all be really stupid to not vote me out. Like at one point.
I do have a good what if, and I hope Lily approves of this what if because she is the what if of this group. Let's go back to the final four.
Okay. Oh yes.
So instead of V winning, let's say you won.
Ugh.
You won. You're automatically in. V, Jon, and Lydia are up there. Like, and we know you say like at like what ultimately pushes you over the edge to vote out Lydia is what Lydia says at the tribal, where she says like play your game. Let's say like, but now you're in an active role because you won immunity, so you are at this point having to play your game. Because we see V sort of like take the ball here when she gets immunity, be like, okay, we're either voting Lydia out or we're going to go to fire. Like those were in her mind the two options that she pushed. What do you think if the role was reversed and you're the one in power, what you're looking at?
Well, I probably would have taken Jon. It would have been who I picked. Because I didn't notice all the other stuff that he was doing. So like I probably would have foolishly taken Jon. And I think V would have ended up going. I don't think that there was a place that Lydia ended up in the final three unless she won immunity. Or
you
won
almost gave her fire making.
I did. I wanted to because at that point I knew that I wasn't going to win. I just was like, there's no way. I was like, and really I get to make this choice, which was kind of fun. So I was like, there's no way I can win. So I was almost like, what's the best entertainment for everybody? Like, what is the most interesting
It's fire
thing?
making. Come on, Sarah.
I know. But then she said, play a game for yourself. And I was like, well, fuck, I haven't played my game. So sorry, I cursed.
Yeah, it's
like, so that's why I did that ultimately because of what she said. I did want to do the fire challenge. I thought that'd be really cool. And I wanted an all girls thing. But ultimately I knew that Lydia would win and it would be like a landslide. Like the V and I would not have stood a chance, I don't think, with Lydia. In my opinion, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I was not in Ponderosa at all. I also like was surprised at how everyone viewed Jon as a threat, which I don't know, maybe that's mean to say. Like it didn't occur to me that he was a threat until like I watched it back. And I still like I don't like I was like, he obviously played really well, but like I don't know. I just when you compare it to Emily or Lydia, it doesn't seem like it as much. Like those two, I think you couldn't beat, but Jon, like obviously V did beat him.
Yeah.
Like I don't think V or I could have beat Emily or Lydia. Maybe I am like just like fangirling too much over those two, but
well, I just have one question before we get to Facebook, or if the two other hosts have any other questions. If you had to trust one member from this cast to transport all your photography equipment cross country, who are you trusting to drive that U-Haul?
To drive the U-Haul? Okay.
Yeah.
U-Haul cross country, Lily, that's my domain.
I was about to say, I'm trying to think. Probably Jonathan, the one who got voted out with Lydia's first thing. He seems very trustworthy, and maybe it's the medals. And I just feel like he has like
and the military man.
Yes, I think that he probably has like some. Yeah, I think him.
Yeah, we can pretend all those medals are for you hauling.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why. He just seems like a really nice, honest guy who's like
100%
responsible. He seems very responsible to me. I'm honestly a control freak, so I'm gonna like save myself, but but if I had to pick, I would say him.
Very nice.
I have a question for you. What was your favorite challenge?
Well, the flip cup I didn't get to know. I'm trying to think about them all. There are so many. I can't even remember them all, to be honest. The room scramble one was really fun. I really enjoyed that. So I want to say that one, even though I feel like people thought I didn't like it, but I loved it.
You were just so frustrated the entire time.
I was frustrated, and I like remember
you let the girl with the internet with the Zoom issues beat you to a room.
I don't know how that happened. I think it's because you guys did it though. I think production had you. If you're writing,
I was like, I was like, I don't know what to do for this challenge with her.
No, it's fine. I wasn't.
And like,
It's
I
all
was
the cookie
also,
crumbles. I wasn't mad.
yeah, and it was also like, I'm like, but it's gonna take me longer because like I'm also focusing on everyone else while trying to move her. So I'm like, oh, Sarah's bound to get in before I'm
No,
able
I
to get this to
totally am.
happen.
I am not well versed in Zoom, if I'm being honest. So I think that like it was like a little difficult for me at sometimes. I didn't really like it just took me forever. And I couldn't even remember if the rooms like how they were labeled because it was labeled by like what they were, not
Yeah,
like
we
what
didn't
challenge it was.
rename it. What? Yeah.
So I had to remember like anyway. So it was just like just too slow, Joe. Like I wasn't mad at V or you guys for moving her.
Mhm.
And honestly, I'm not glad that V got it, but I also felt sad because it was like she was at a disadvantage with having to be moved. So it's almost like I'm really obsessed with not being mean and things being fair. So ultimately I'm
Yeah.
happy that V like didn't get screwed over by not being able to do it. So I would
Right.
say that one was really fun. I really liked the challenge at the very beginning where you had to separate into groups. And like Jon had to do that terrible math problem.
Yes.
But yeah, no, just like doing anything where you bounce like balls into cups or like flip straw, like that was really fun. I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah. And then I have one last question for you is because like part of your Insta reel was about how you want to go on the Real Survivor.
Yeah.
So if you ended up, luckily you're on the beach, you're talking to Jeff Probst is right there, and you're looking at your cast, and suddenly you notice one of these people's from Trinity Falls. Who's that Trinity Falls person you hoped you would see there with you?
Austin.
Yes. Love
Austin,
that.
obviously.
We talked to Jon a little bit ago, and he brought up a question that we wanted to ask you with who if they had tied Jon and V. So you were buddies with Jon pretty much the entire game, but he had said that you were like, V, wow, that was a great final tribal performance in your like little holding area by yourselves. If you had to break the tie between Jon and V, do you know where you would have gone?
V, hands down. V, 100%. She was so good in Final Tribal. And like, my only complaint with V's game the entire time was how she would like seem like she was like always thought she was gonna be the vote, and she was never the vote. Like all her confessionals were like, I just know that my name is out there. I'm like, your name is never out there. What are you talking about? Like I tried to put it out there and nobody would let me. Like your name was never out there. But just like even V, hands down. I think she played like her final tribal was so good, and I do feel like she had to play like underneath Lydia, which I think could be quite daunting to like feel like you're like in the shadow of somebody like that. And she, in my opinion, stood on her own, even outside of Lydia.
Alrighty. Well, now we'll move on to Facebook. The first question is from Ben. Sarah, you played the UTR game of the season, and you deserve more props for coming out swinging at that final tribal council. What's your favorite photo that you've taken?
Oh, like ever? Or could it be like the one I'm most proud of? Okay, well, I guess the one I'm most proud of is I recently just shot a book cover for a bestseller, and that was really exciting for Financial Feminist, her first 100K. So that's like the one I'm most proud of. But I would say like my favorite type of photos, like series of photos I took, was I used to volunteer with the Pitbull Foundation, and I would take all the dog photos for their like adoption profiles.
Oh my god!
So I had like just like tons of cute derpy dog photos. And then like fashion wise, I would say like my fashion week photos are my favorite ones. So I have some really great ones of models like walking into fashion week, which I really love.
Love that. Your bestest buddy Austin. Sarah, my ride or die and true duo of this game. What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned after playing your first org, and what would you do to apply in a future game if you were to play again?
Say things with like more conviction, like say a name and give a reason, and like don't like let up as easily. Like don't just like let people convince you, or not even just don't let people don't listen to you. Just say like, be like V, I think, and tell them why, versus like, oh, what do you think about this, and then just like not really following up.
Yeah, valid. Luke, Sarah, other than winning immunities, what do you think you could have done differently to have had a different perception at the end?
Well, one, play my nullifier. I think I could have done that. I think I could have been more chatty with other people. Like, I think I could have started talking about like working with other people earlier on. Like, I think I could have brought up like an all girls alliance earlier on, and I could have just like again throwing names out with more conviction instead of just like small talk and like trying to be nice. Not really worrying about hurting people's feelings as much.
Lydia says, I'm a huge fan and so grateful this game brought us together. 2-part question for you. 1, what's your favorite vacation you've ever taken?
Oh, okay, that's the first part. Either I would say London or Mexico City.
Okay, and then what's your dream destination you haven't traveled to yet?
That I haven't been to? I would say Nordic countries. Like, I really want to go to Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark.
Nice. Alrighty. Greg has a question for you. Your
I was about to say it's his fault that I'm here.
Yes. Sarah, your response to Emily's jury question / statement is one of my favorite moments of all season. FMK, Polaroid cameras, iPhone cameras, disposable cameras.
All right. Kill disposables. I think that they're like really cool right now, but like no. Marry iPhone because I do think they do some really cool things. And then I love Polaroid, so F Polaroids.
Nice.
But I have a Polaroid tattoo, so I'm like fond of them.
And that is all your questions.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right. So we like to end our exit interviews with the same question, and that is, if you could sum up your game in one word, what would it be and why?
Low key, because I just kept it chill, which has never been used to describe me. I'm shocked at how many people referred, like, I showed my husband every time. I was like, these people think I'm chill. Like, these people think I'm calm. So yeah, low key.
Nice.
And I was one of those people because I kept talking to Prod like in the post game just about like how even though like you could tell like there was anxious energy, there was but I was like you could never like see it on your face, like you
At
always
least
were
with
just
the
like
contestant, like your fellow castaways, like we couldn't see it in the scrambles. Like sometimes if you were to come into confessional or when you're coming into vote, just like okay. So I don't know what to do. I think I know what to do, but maybe this, that, and the other thing.
I mean, there's like few times, like in the last one, you see, I started to write Jon, and then I moved to Lydia. No, I just work well under pressure. I've worked like a lot of really high set pressure situations, so I don't know. I feel like I have a huge fake it till you make it attitude. Like if they don't know that I'm stressed, they won't be stressed. That's photographing weddings. You can't show them you're stressed.
Exactly. I've been there.
But you were one of our like favorites to host. Like your therapy sessions during your voting were one of my favorite highlights. Even though you thought I was over it, I very much wasn't.
I just didn't realize that people weren't rambling. I was like, I don't know. I was just thinking in full sentences. I thought, but I guess I wasn't. I don't know.
But it was.
I was always surprised. I was like, wow, all right, we got everything that Sarah was thinking. And then, like, not just like I'm voting for Alex because he smells. The end. Like
No, I don't know. I wanted them to know too, like when they saw it, like I was struggling. Like I loved Lydia every time. And like I'm shooting her engagement pictures and I need her mom to like me because I want her to hire me more. So I'm like, well, I hope your mom is not mad that I voted for you like 4 times.
But you were such a pleasure to host. We were so fortunate for you to like trusting us to be your first game into this crazy org world that you didn't even know existed. But this does wrap up our exit, and this is exits and reunion week, folks. We still have Jon's and Vee's exits to watch these next couple days, as well as our reunion on Friday. As always, follow us on all of our social medias that you'll see at the end of this video, and press that like button, press subscribe, press that bell for all notifications so you know when all of our content drops. We are Dynamic Character Productions, and we'll see you next time.